to this and let everybody in. Speaker.
Progress.
Some familiar faces rolling in.
Yeah, definitely. Just making sure everybody's on mute. All right. Let's see here. Cool. All right, guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yes, I'm sitting in a truck. Yes, I'm doing this webinar from the truck. Serious internet issues, having fiber installed. So I'm at my brother's business, sitting outside of his business using his internet. So the show must go on, as Barnum and Bailey says. Doesn't matter what's happening. So here we are. So quick question, guys. Go ahead and write this in the chat. And I want to know, what do you guys think embodiment is? Because you hear this thrown around a lot. And of all the stuff I've seen out there, very few people actually get it from when it comes to how a man should be embodied. Women, there's plenty of stuff out there for women. And I've seen a lot of coaches teach men like they are women. And that doesn't work, guys, because you take whatever femininity that's already inside of you and you amplify it, and that kills your masculinity. It makes you untrustworthy. Let's see, being comfortable in your body, being aware of it, and being able to turn on feeling of sexuality. Yeah, that's part of it. Connected and firmly anchored in your body. Yeah, that's a little bit more on the grounding side of things. Being able to feel in the body. Yeah, there we go. Now we're getting something. Embody a feeling or a goal like you have already done it. Yep, that's part of it. We hear this in phrasing, right? Oh, he embodies the sport. He embodies the idea of the thing. So what does that mean? That means he's, like somebody already said, he's feeling the experience of what it is that he's doing. Feeling the body. Being in control of thoughts and feelings. Potentially. Yeah. We do want to have some control over that. Having awareness of your body unconsciously at all times. There's a good 40% of the energy should be always in the body. Unconsciously, I would disagree with that. I would say consciously, we want to be aware of our body. Sense of me as a felt sense. That's a little esoteric, but I know what you're talking about. Yep. Grounded and connected to what's going on in your body. Yeah, that's a good one as well. Okay. Okay. Very good. Very, very good. So guys that are not embodied, a lot of times what's going on with them is they're trying way harder to do something than another guy, and they're getting less result. They know what to do, but it's not landing. And the reason it's not landing is because the words coming out of your mouth and what's actually being presented from your body. Remember, 90%, 96% of communication is through the body. It's not verbal. The A lot of times we just lie when we're verbally talking. We always have a mask on. We're playing a role of some kind. And when we're doing that, and those words are coming out of our mouth, but our body is telling a different story, this is where it gets difficult. This is where you have a harder time with, doing something, and you want to do it with with less effort, and you just can't, because the people, whether they're consciously aware of it or not, are sensing what's going on in the body when we're together.
Hispanic, not Hispanic, black, white, just
Okay, Tim in. We got a mute. um, just like in a workshop, when I'm in a workshop, I don't care what you guys say to me. I'm paying attention to what's more true to me. What's happening to your body? What is your body telling me? What are you feeling? What are the micro expressions happening? Are you shrinking? Are you expanding? Because not because you want to, but you guys will tell a lot of lies, because that is the program that you've been running for a very long time. And the whole point of the workshops is to get out of that pattern and get into a place of truth with your body. And I think somebody alluded to that. Um, Dan was pretty close to that, right? Sense of me as a felt sense, right? Who am I? And do I really want to do X? And the answer, a lot of the times, you will say yes, but the body is hell no. I don't want to do this. I don't want to get close to you. I don't want to be in this proximity. This is very, very evident in approaching. And this is what I look for all the time in approaching. What is the guy's body doing? Because that's going to tell me everything I need to know. Once he has fully accepted the approach, his body's going to relax. He's going to be grounded. He's going to be right there. He's going to be able to take on challenge. He's going to be able to meet challenge, whether from the woman or from another guy that's interfering. And he's just going to be comfortable in that space versus the guy who's not embodied, meaning not truly aware of what's going on in his body. He's going to be not trustworthy. He's going to have reactions to him before he even opens his mouth, because his body is broadcasting a different story. It's broadcasting the story of, I don't want to be here. This is scary. I don't like you. I'm afraid. Um, this feels awkward. The body's broadcasting that type of stuff all the time. And if we're not aware of what is really going on in our body very, very subtly, we're never going to get what we want out of life. We're going to put a lot of effort in and we're going to get very little result. So the words coming out of your mouth and what your body is speaking to others need to be in alignment. And if they're not, you're going to have problems. And one of the biggest problems I see is guys that have done embodiment stuff have done it in a very feminine way. And that femininity builds and broadcasts out of you. And so therefore women pick up on that feminine cue and distrust it, because you're trying to speak from a masculine perspective and you're saying masculine things, but the body's talking in feminine. And this is where there's a big disconnect with that stuff. And one of the things that I really focus on in the embodiment workshops is all of the masculine signatures, making sure the masculine is talking from the body, not the feminine. Now, are we both masculine and feminine? 100%. However, if you want to be a masculine guy, you're going to bring forth that masculine energy so much more than you would the feminine. The feminine is reserved for care and empathy and things like that, not something that you use to manipulate others. That is done from a woman. A woman manipulates with her body. A woman uses her body to trick and tease and play in a different way that's very, very soft. And when a guy does it, it doesn't matter whether we're okay with that guy being in his feminine or not. It just feels off to us. It feels off to a lot of people. And therefore, when those words come out of your mouth, it doesn't add up. Your body's saying there's something off here. And that's why guys struggle a lot. That's why they put a lot of work in. They get very little result. They get very frustrated. They have a lot of envy toward other men that can do this very, very smoothly. And they ultimately end up getting into this anxious, numb, or tight space. They become avoidant and at the end of the day feel overwhelmed. So when you approach someone, when you're engaging with anyone and you have that going on, you're not creating trust, you're not creating any kind of authority, and there's no clarity to you. And if you have no self authority, which a man should definitely have, then nobody's going to trust that. So, with embodiment, what we're trying to do is get the body to speak the same language that's vocally coming out of your mouth. So it's congruent. Back in the day, right? All the pickup guys would talk about congruence, right? Got to be congruent. Well, they didn't understand that the words coming out of your mouth were different than what was coming from your body. The only thing that they understood was that the words should sort of be congruent with what's going on here and now, which I get they should be, but they missed the part of the body that was speaking a different language. And we really, really need to dial those in and get those in harmony with each other. Now, Dom and I ran a workshop last December in Washington, D.C. Absolutely fantastic. The guys that showed up to that, um, some of them were, one of them looked like you could put your hand through him. There was no, there was nothing to him. He was like a ghost almost. One of the other guys was very inward, contracted, slumped over a little bit. And that's not something that you can trust as a human being. That's not something that's congruent when they talk. Because if they say, oh, yeah, yeah, I got this, but you feel like you can put your hand through that guy, you don't have anything. You have distrust built right there. So we spent 2 days working with these guys, all types of exercises, really focused on bringing that rock solid masculine signature energy, whatever you want to call it, first and foremost in their body. And wow, at the end of 2 days, it was just like two rock star studs sitting on the couch, very present, very aware of their body, fully engaged with the room, whether they were looking at us or not. And the words coming out of their mouth matched what their body was speaking. And it was a beautiful thing to see. And the energetics of them shifted massively, as well as their own physical energy. One of them was drinking energy drinks just to keep awake during his day at his job. He doesn't drink them anymore. He's completely done with energy drinks because we were able to unlock a piece of energy that was stuck inside of him that would make him crash throughout the day. One of the other guys, when we got into the confrontation exercises, he stopped mid-exercise. A huge well of grief and apathy and pain came up because he was being now challenged in a confrontational space, building that masculine, being able to handle confrontation like a man should be able to handle confrontation. And it was very, very light confrontation, and it was enough to trigger an emotional release. And that is what made this switch for him happen very, very fast. I think that was on the middle of the second day or something like that. So amazing things can happen when embodiment's done right for men. And I would really encourage you guys to consider getting into a workshop with Dom and I if you're interested in really getting a lot more flow in your life, building a lot more trust faster, and then coming into an interaction with that solid masculine signature. And when I say this, all you guys are going to know what I'm talking about when I say this. When I talk about a solid masculine energetic signature, how many times have you met a guy and you're like, whoa, that's a masculine dude. I'd like hanging out with him. We've all met that guy. Women know that guy. And if you want to become that guy, you need a little training to get there. And it's exactly what Dom and I are doing with these energetic embodiment workshops. Another big thing that a lot of men are afraid of that hold them back from this solid signature is the fear of confrontation, the fear of face to face with another man, confronting him and being confronted. That's part of the workshop as well. And it's done in a very safe and simple way. And what's important is watching what's happening in the body, getting these releases to happen. When you don't have fear of confrontation, the world looks completely different to you. You feel like you can handle anything that's thrown your way, even if it is painful and it hurts. You can still stand in it and face it. And the reason that I have you guys face each other, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but when men face each other head on like this, there's an internal switch that's flipped that immediately goes to confrontation. Now, whether we're confrontational or not is a whole different story. But internally, if that switch is flipped, which it always is when we're face to face with each other, we're ready to fight, we're ready to get confrontational. That's a good thing, especially if you're not comfortable with that. Typically, what you want to do, and if you watch men talk, men will stand kind of angled to each other. They don't look at each other straight on because it's very confrontational. So, what we'll do is we'll start you guys out on angle and we'll bring you in to be more confrontational as the workshop goes on so that you can get comfortable with confrontation, get comfortable standing your ground, get comfortable energetically pushing on somebody and somebody pushing on you, challenging you. And then there's also a little physicality in these exercises as well. Not anything aggressive at all. Um, you know, if you guys need to get aggressive in these workshops, we can accommodate that. We have already. And, we've got a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu master with us, black belt master, as well as a British kickboxing champion. So, getting more aggressive if that's what's required to get this thing to come alive inside of you that's shut down, we're going to do it. And it's a very incredible experience, a very powerful experience for a lot of guys when they get to do this because so much is repressed in the body. It's not living free, it's not expressing free because it is afraid of confrontation, even on the most minor scale. And when I say confrontation, a lot of people's minds go to a physical fight. I'm talking about just confrontation of disagreement with saying, I don't like this, with saying, well, I think your opinion's wrong, mine's better, to something as simple as, well, I really don't want to go to dinner here, right? That's confrontation. You're confronting another person saying, I don't like this. I don't want to be a part of this. And that's really a difficult experience for a typical nice guy. In the embodiment workshop, you get to express all that, bring it out, and get a little bit more aggressive than you've ever been with a safe space, with somebody guiding you, with somebody saying, okay, this is a little bit of drama, this is a little bit of, this is being too soft, and really get to experience something that you're afraid of, as well as work on the body awareness component, right? What's going on in the feet? What's going on in the ankles? What's going on in the calves, the knees, the quads, the pelvis? That's another big area that so many men get stuck in, the pelvis. And if you do not have access to this pelvis, if it's not turned on, if you don't feel good about it, if it doesn't feel juicy and exciting, your sexual turn on, your masculinity is going to be dulled down. It's not going to be very exciting for anybody interacting with you, right? You're going to be ashamed to express your sexuality, your wants, your desires, your turn on for a woman because the pelvis is disassociated. And if you guys want to have great sex, a nice loose pelvis is a great way to have great sex, right? If you're feeling into the pelvis, well, she's going to be feeling what you're putting into that pelvis. I'm not just talking about your cock, but I'm talking about the energetics of your pelvis with her as well. And if you guys have ever really had solid, very deeply connected sex, it's like a wave of feeling and emotions just moving through your body. And it just ripples through time and time and time again as you guys are deeply connected. So if you guys want to have deeply connected sex, right, you need to have access to that pelvis. It needs to feel good. You can't have any shame around it because it's going to limit your sexual experience with a woman. And remember, she feels way more than you're ever going to. So don't ever try to outfeel a woman. You're not going to be able to do it because that's their protection mechanism. That's how they stay safe. So that skill set is highly, highly developed. Much like our physical strength is more highly developed than a woman's because it's our way of protecting ourselves. So we don't want to get into that world where we're trying to outfeel a woman. We're just not going to be able to do it. But what we can do is be in a lot of feeling as a man. And that is now touching on some of the feminine that I was talking about, right? Every woman has masculine in her, every man has feminine in him. And it's how much we use it in the right amounts. Think of it as like pouring salt on a dinner dish. You only put a little bit so that it tastes good. You don't put too much because it's going to taste like shit. And so when a guy brings too much feminine into his life, it feels like shit to other people. You just a little dash here and there, and you got that masculine signature dialed in. It feels good to people. People want to be around it. Life is much easier for you. And, you know, it's good. It just feels amazing. How many of you guys feel amazing in your bodies? If you don't feel amazing in your body, guys, that's a problem. We should, we
Does
should,
anyone here actually feel bad in their bodies? Like,
yeah, that's a
does it
great
feel
question.
painful? Like, do you feel painful, uncomfortable? Is there anything unpleasant that comes up when you stop and feel?
So I just want to clarify, are you talking about, so I feel painful because I feel fat. I
Okay.
don't feel ripped at all. Is that what Tom's talking about, or is it something else?
Yeah, so there's most likely some shame, some fear around that feeling. So you don't feel good in your body and you disassociate from certain parts of your body when you feel that. So, right, where does fat usually sit, right? It's in our bellies typically. And so if we feel fat, we're going to be like, ew, we don't like that part of ourselves. So we're going to start to pull away from the belly. And then now we only have a kind of a heart talking and maybe a pelvis talking. Usually that's not the case because we're disassociated so much that we're all just kind of up here in the upper part of the body. And the belly is a life force, right? That's where our masculinity comes to, our sexual energy comes up and out through that belly. And it's also, right, that's where the Dantian the Hara is. That's the guiding, our guiding internal light. That's where that is. It's moving you forward. And so when we disassociate with the belly, then we only have a couple parts of us really functioning the right way. Does that make sense? Cool. Yeah. Anybody else not feel good in their body?
Generally, for me, it's body dysmorphia, but sometimes I'm able to get a very good feeling and flow in my body.
Good.
But the
Nice.
dominant Yeah, dominant thing is a bit of a hatred for the body. There's a lot of shame about the body. I think primarily that is also my blocker for getting women. But yeah, I'm able to get into good feeling in my body.
Good. Excellent.
Sometimes,
Excellent.
yeah.
Tim,
Nice.
feeling good, but dealing with injuries and slight soreness from workouts. That's great. So Tim probably feels pretty good in his body because I know he works out a lot. So he's moving his body a lot. He's,
Always moving my body.
yeah.
Still
He's,
got this injury got to deal with, but still moving.
yeah. So he's running, he's lifting weights, he's doing yoga. He's always moving his body. So somebody that loves their body is going to be moving it. They're going to be enjoying the body, not so much disassociating from it. Or
So when someone is very present, that all of that um, body dysmorphia or their hatred for their body just dissolves in that moment,
correct.
and you can, yeah.
It's a acceptance, right? You're accepting that I'm not perfect. You're accepting that I could be better, but I'm not. You're accepting that I didn't feel like doing the work to get a better body, etc. Like everything that's involved in that, you are full acceptance of it. And so you can be present with your body the way it is and use it to feel like it should be.
Yeah, like body dysmorphia, it's a construct, right? It's this idea that my body should be a different way, or it's this way, and so it means something about me. Like in general, if you're fully in acceptance of your body, like you might not like some things about it. Right? It doesn't mean you're going to love every little bit. You might be a little bit overweight, but very okay with that. You might be a little skinny and okay with that, right? But the judgment that comes around all of these things, right? I'm too skinny, I'm too fat, I'm like not buff enough, whatever it might be. Like these are ideas that come from like being in our heads, that kind of pressure, awareness of like who I am, what I am underneath this, like fuck societal pressure or whoever is saying to me, right, I'm not big enough, I'm not tall enough, I'm whatever, right? You might have those feelings still, but it's not going to be like spiraling down those, you know, crazy, crazy paths that some people are taking these days. So yeah, that's awareness of what's going on inside you, like knowing, do I feel this way? Like catching it there and stopping it before we go into this like spiral of like, oh, I'm not 6'3" with like chiseled cheekbones or whatever the hell it is, right? So now I'm gonna smash my face with a fucking hammer, right? It's crazy what people are doing these days. And when you take a step back and look at what people are doing, right? And this is what Dave's talking about, that sub-communication. And embodiment is much more than just body language, right? But if I'm sitting there and telling you, hey, these are the lengths I go to just so I can look a certain way, right? I'm shooting testosterone into my body while I'm still a teenager, when my body should be at its healthiest. I'm smashing my face with a hammer. I'm doing this. Like, all it's screaming to the world at large is, I am so insecure. I hate so much about myself. And again, the awareness we're talking about is like they are almost certainly unaware of how much they hate themselves, right? Because that's really what's going on. Right? Dave, you mentioned like lying, earlier, which is such a loaded word,
it is.
but and it's definitely going to get a raise from a couple of people in here, right? Because I'm pretty sure everyone here is going to say, if asked, are you honest? Like, are you full of integrity? And there's like, are you an authentic person? And I would say right there, like, some of the most inauthentic people I've ever met are the ones who are going on and preaching about authenticity and integrity, because they aren't aware of what's going on in their bodies, right? So there's a lot of people lying unintentionally, right? So, everyone's going to have met someone who you ask them how they're doing, and they say, "Yeah, I'm great," and they could be lying to your face, and deliberately so, or they can be saying, yeah, I'm great. And they're completely unaware of the fact that everyone around them is like, there's something a bit off with Bob today. Like, and by the time they've been asked enough times, they might start to clue up to it. Right. But if you don't know what's going on in your body, like your body's just telling you like whatever's going on. Like it's trying to. And if we're putting so much store on like what we're being taught, like so many people teach embodiment from a place of logical understanding, right, which is so backwards, but so understandable, right? If you've never had that experience of it, right? And you can kind of teach yourself this by, going to webinars, like picking stuff up, reading stuff, and you'll get an idea of what it is. But until you know what it is to feel a certain way, until you know that you're not hiding stuff, and we all have these little areas where, our perception of reality doesn't quite match the signature we're putting out there. All right. You can tell everyone you're a confident, grounded alpha male, as much as you like. And, you know, the world is your best feedback mechanism, right? Don't stay at home, like running through like different types of releasing, learning how to like, do this all in your body, all on your own. You can absolutely do that. It's possible, technically. But in reality, like so many people going down that route are just going to find themselves like playing out different scenarios, thinking that this is what they're doing. And then when they step out into the real world and people don't give them that feedback, it's kind of brutal. You're faced with this choice of like, oh yeah, this is how I think I'm feeling. The world at large is telling me that actually no, you're coming off pretty different. You've got two choices there. You double down and go, no, I'm right and the world is wrong. Or you go back and you carry on working it and it feels like crushing. You thought you were right, but everyone else says different. And this is the reason why like the workshops are such a powerful thing because you're learning a whole different way of being, like projecting a whole different kind of energy. You will fuck it up, right? And in some cases spectacularly, right? But in a safe space for people around you who can give you that feedback quickly and immediately and just have you test it out until it feels normal. Because every single one of us here on this call, right, if you start to act a different way, whether it's a more like effective, functional way or something completely, ridiculous and erratic, it's going to feel unusual at first because you're not used to it. So having that space to play around, exactly like Andreas is saying, yeah, part of the game is to be okay to fuck it up, right,
Yep.
with people outside. And absolutely. But if you're not okay with that to start with, it's a hard place to be. Like Andreas, you've put in a lot of work, right? And you're much, much better now, I'm guessing, like with, oh, okay, like I was a bit off there. I can show up and I can mess things up and it doesn't bother you as much, right? Versus when you first started this journey, like I know for a fact that when I started doing this, and I started testing with like everyone I encounter, every little like minutiae responses from other people, it'd be like, oh my God, like this person didn't respond to me the way I expected. I must be doing something wrong. That feedback would affect me so much more. Whereas now it's kind of like, okay, I'm so used to it. It's really easy to kind of give myself feedback on the fly. And also, if it's not working one day, not take it personally, right? Because we take things pretty personally, a lot of us. Sorry, I was going to jump in and just say one little thing there, but that turned into a bit of a rant. So yeah.
Yeah, I was just looking through the chat here, guys, and some good questions. Um, let's talk about some of the things that I see quite often in men that really affect the way they're perceived. One of the biggest things is they're not resting in their back. So I don't know if everybody's been on some of the other calls where I've talked about the masculine and the feminine in the body. Back of the body's masculine, front is feminine, inside is feminine, outside is masculine. Inside of legs is feminine, outside of legs is masculine. One of the biggest things that I see is most men, they have an energetic break in their back. They're not aware of their back. They don't rest in it. They don't feel supported from behind. And that translates into everything else that that guy does, right? Everything he does is with a basically a kink. It looks like an energetic kink. Once you see it, once you learn how to see it, you can't unsee it. You'll see it in every guy. And when you have that break fixed and there's a nice flow of energy up and down the back, and that energy feels solid as it wraps around kind of your rib cage and holds you, and you can kind of sit back and rest in your back and feel solid. And what you'll start doing is you'll start feeling from the back of your body, as you should, through to the front of your body. So, everybody talks about, oh, feel your heart from the front of your body. Well, you still have an entire body that you haven't felt because you're feeling it from the front. So you should feel from the back of the heart and the back of your back, so where your spine sits, through the spine, through the back of the heart, through the front of the heart, out through the front of the chest. So you get a full embodied visceral experience of what it's like to feel through your body. And then if you're in front of a woman, she's going to know the difference between that sensation of kind of a shallow feeling or a really deep feeling. And the deep feeling will come from the back all the way through the body out the front. And so one of the biggest things that I fixed on every single guy that has come in and done embodiment stuff is their back. The back, the back, the back, the back. The back and the pelvis are the two biggest problems in men. And there's a lot of different exercises that we have to engage the back the right way. Some of the confrontation exercises are heavily engaged with the back. And guys get to feel a part of themselves that they were never aware of, that was asleep, that wasn't serving them. And once they engage in some of the confrontation exercises or just some of the other exercises with engagement of the back, wow, what a difference. It's like a whole nother man just showed up in that body. And it's a stark difference. Like, it's massive when you see it switch on, and it's really, really impressive. And it's like, oh, there's the man that was inside that was hiding. Now he decided to show up. And what we've seen is through a lot of the confrontation stuff, that's when he really starts showing up, which is really, really nice. Because we want to be able to sit on our backs. We want to be able to be guided and supported, knowing that even if we can't see what's behind us, that if somebody were to say attack us or some kind of threat or something from behind would come at us, we could still handle it because our strength is back there. And so if you're not aware of your back, and a lot of guys are not, a lot of this is perception. You've been with yourself your entire life. You're like, what are you talking about? I can feel my back on the chair right now. That's not what I'm talking about. Yes, you can feel different parts of your body, but are they engaged? Are they giving off an energetic signature? And the answer is no for most men. And I forget who it was. I don't know if it was Johns Hopkins or somebody recently. I saw an article that they had done energetic field interference with two human beings, and they would change out different people that had different energetic fields to them, and you could watch on a quantum level how they would affect another person. And that's what I'm going for with embodiment. I want you guys to have an effect in the world, not be affected. And I talked about this a little bit on an approaching video I did with Matt, and talk about pushing, energetically pushing on other people. People aren't aware that you do this, but once you understand how to do it, and you can do it because you can feel yourself, which in turn helps you feel other people, you can now push on them energetically and help them or get them to do something, whatever it is, like get them to believe more in you, you believe more in them, It can be a fun energetic exchange. It could be a challenging energetic exchange. It could even be a manipulative energetic exchange. But, manipulation has a bad connotation to that word. Well, you can manipulate somebody for good, or you can manipulate somebody for bad. It's how you would use that manipulation. So if you're using it for good, who cares? You're using it for good. But if you're using it for bad, well, you're a piece of shit and you shouldn't be doing that. So our bodies can do a lot of stuff if we are in touch with them enough to allow them to do that and then be willing to play with that. So if we want to talk about dating, the guy who kind of always gets the look when he walks in the door, the guy who has women that kind of start mingling around him the longer he stays in the venue, the guy who the female bartender takes care of before another guy. That guy has a solid masculine signature to him. He's resting in his back. He's aware of the full body. He's got the heart turned on. He's got the belly's activated. The pelvis is turned on, and all of that energetic signature is pushing out and affecting others around him. You can also see this when a person makes themselves bigger energetically. People will just get out of their way. And if you're walking down a sidewalk and people are constantly bumping into you, it's because you've shrunken your energetic signature. When you make it big and you push it out there, people will start going around you. They won't bump into you and hit you as much, especially if you're walking down a crowded street. You can push stuff out and other bodies will feel it. Now, the people won't consciously think, oh, that body felt, really expansive. I don't want to get near it. But that's the reality. And you can watch it on people. You can watch somebody that has a big energy walk down a crowded street and people will just get out of the way. Versus somebody that has a small energy, they'll get pushed, they'll get bumped into, they'll get not seen, they'll get knocked over. It happens all the time. I've seen it constantly. I care. Doesn't grounding accomplish the same thing? Well, yes, grounding can, absolutely. Grounding's a part of that component. It's a part of the embodiment experience, right? If you're fully embodied and you're not grounded, which is going to be really hard to do, you'll seem very floaty. You'll feel very feminine, floaty, light, untrustworthy. The grounding component builds that trust in. It's like, oh, here's something solid I can rely on that's going to put a container around me. And when you push your energetics outside of you, like think of those, those big balls that people get in and roll around, those giant clear ones. Think of your body as an energetic bubble like that you can inflate and deflate depending on how you want to experience the world. And so if you push out really far, people aren't going to get that close to you. If you shrink it in, people will get closer to you. But the grounding will allow you to get bumped into, but not get knocked off balance. It will keep your emotions a little bit more regulated when that happens. That's what the grounding is going to do. But the energetic side of things that I'm talking about, that's a different experience than the grounding.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuance to this because, like, to some
Tremendous.
people, like grounding, you can consider that as like, that awareness of the energy in the legs. But, it's not just feeling it in the legs, there's also the connection of the energy from the legs to the ground. And also, are you just going straight up and down, or are you spreading out as well? And I know, like, actually, people tend to find energy easier to understand than I think they're going to, but in my head, people are going to struggle with the idea. But every single guy here on this call has had that experience, I'm sure, of, being in a conversation and then halfway through you realize that there's one guy just sat there who's kind of disappeared on everyone. And maybe you've been that guy, right? You're pretty much invisible. And every time they try and speak up, like no one hears them. Like their voice is small, their energy isn't big, and they're just so easy to ignore. I'm pretty sure everyone here has had that same, like the opposite experience of, you're sitting somewhere, you're in a room, you're with a group of people, and someone walks in and then like everyone turns and looks. And this could be a good thing or a bad thing, right? We were at a workshop, I think last year or some point, where one of the models coming in and out of the room made so much noise each and every time, and it was really annoying. And it's not necessarily big energy, but it was like a careless energy about it, right? You have people who are always pushing on everyone, right? You will know someone in your life who's just really, really pushy, won't take no for an answer. Their energy is always going outwards. They're not really receptive. So you might be putting out all kinds of signals which you think are super clear, like, please don't talk to me right now, or I'm not interested in this conversation. And they're just pushing, 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 pushing on you. Or the opposite, where you'll feel people just constantly pulling on your energy. Right? We have energy vampires, people who are just draining you constantly. They're trying to get something out of you, and it feels icky, for want of a better word, right? And so, in these workshops, we'll go into real depth about like, what is your energy doing? Not just where it is, but like how it's, how it's being in the body and how is it affecting other people, right? Because that's something we all kind of know on an instinctive level, like what it feels like, what it looks like. But you're not going to find that in a book about body language. That's not the same thing. And if you don't have like a good grounding, excuse my use of the word grounding, if you don't have a good grounding in this sort of work, it'll feel very, very strange, like playing around with it, like just feeling that in the body. But yeah, like there's some really, really cool stuff you can do with this, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, so really quick, guys, how many of you guys would like to be able to have a nonverbal conversation for a little while with a woman and know that she's getting turned on? How many of you would like to walk in the room and feel like all the eyes are on you because something solid just showed up? How many of you would like to be able to go to your boss and say, hey, I disagree with what's going on, but this is the way it is. I don't think we should be doing this. I think this is a bad business decision, something like that, right? How many of you would like to say, okay, I've made good money in my career. I'm done with this. I'm so sick of it. I need to start the business I've always dreamt of. And then solidly walking forward for years, knowing that it's going to work. A lot of people would say yes to something like that. And that all comes down to your ability to be embodied, your ability to be aware of your groundedness, what's happening in your body, what's getting triggered in your body as you go through different experiences. And I say trigger because that's what a lot of guys actually feel. They feel a trigger in their body. They don't trigger others. They're the ones getting triggered. If you're going through life where you're getting triggered and not triggering others, either good or bad, then your energetics are off. They're too small. They're not adapted to the level that they should be to be able to play in this realm. And it's a lot of fun to be able to flirt, have a conversation, be aware of a room without ever saying a word. It's super, super fun. And you also register as a higher vibration being when you're capable of doing this. People notice it. They may not be able to put in words what you're doing, but they'll tell you things like, oh, you feel different. You're interesting. There's something about you. Like you'll hear this type of stuff all the time. And what else? What else would they say? Something like you make me curious, or I'm curious about you, or um, you're not like anybody else I know. You'll hear these types of things constantly. I remember I was walking into this I was co-coaching a sex workshop for couples. And I walked into the room. I'd never been in this room. I walked into this room and every single person turned and looked at me. And there was one woman sitting in the back of the room. And she came up to me later and she said, I didn't see you walk into the room. I felt you walk into the room. And I turned around and I said, who the fuck is that? And I ended up meeting this woman and we hung out and we talked and she's a great girl. But that's the kind of power that you can have when all of this is dialed in, with the body is dialed in. It's feeling good. You're aware of it. It's talking to you. You're listening. You're able to listen to another body talk and get information from it and make it feel good or bad or comfortable or safe or trustworthy. You know, if you want to build trust really fast, embodiment's really, really, really important. Very, very, very important. You know, a lot of guys, you know, they want to be respected without having to be super dominant, meaning like vocally dominant. And that comes, you know, a lot of guys, I think, refer to embodiment as presence, which is true. You have a presence when you're embodied. When you're grounded, you're embodied, you're aware of what's going on in this machine that we live in. There's a presence to someone that's really aware of it. And that asserts dominance, whether you like it or not. And here's another thing that you'll hear. You're intimidating. You feel dominant. You'll hear that as well once you get embodied. And you don't have to perform anything. You don't have to say much. People feel it from you. And this is what we want, right? Oh, that's you right in there down. Okay. um, you know, you want to feel powerful, but not tense while you're powerful. A lot of people associate feeling powerful as tense, like, oh, I got to do something, I got to be bold, and I got to make big moves. And that's not the case. We really want to be the way I like to think about this. I really want you to think about being a giant boulder that knows all of its little chips and bits and pieces, and it just slowly moves through life and just grinds and grinds and gets what it wants, and it moves things out of its way that it doesn't like. You know, that's a good embodiment. You're just a force moving through life. And people are either on board or they're not, and you don't care either way. That's a really solid way to live, right? Um, you know,
Yeah, there are guys out there with like big energies. And yeah, you'll know the guys who are all kind of up here, and there's like a lot of energy, guys and girls, whereas kind of there's a lot of noise, but nothing really happens around them. And then the guys who have like a real kind of heavy, weighty signature, not heavy as in like, oh my God, this guy's dragging me down, but like it's like a not, I don't want to say black hole, but it's like it's dense, it's powerful, like things happen around them, they change, they affect other people. Like the world kind of shifts around them rather than gravity. Exactly, Lorenzo. That is the word I was looking for. Like, thank you very much. Guys with gravity, that is that's really something. And it's very, very cool being someone like that. Like things shift around you rather than working so hard to affect other people. It's a big difference.
gravity is a great word. Gravitas, right?
100%.
Gravitas. Yeah, we all want a gravitas. We should be shooting for that. And everybody has a gravitas to them. It's just how big is it? How solid is it? How immovable is it? That's what we're shooting for, right? And if you're looking to be a guy that has gravitas, right, that wants to use less effort but have more flow to his life, then, you know, hopping in this workshop is a fantastic idea. It's going to change your life dramatically. And, you know, that's a bold statement, but I've seen what comes out of the workshops and what the guys do after they come out of the workshops. It's a no-brainer to get involved in. And if you get embodiment dialed in, it's going to make any other workshop you do that much more powerful, because now you have so much more awareness to take in information. You have more awareness of how you feel in the moment and can play with that and adjust it and connect or disconnect or say, oh, hold on a second, I got to take a break because I've got this sensation of like guilt coming up that I need to really, um, you know, I need to really release right now. Okay. So it's a very powerful, powerful tool to use to your advantage. Anybody that's athletic, there's already going to be a sensation of some embodiment for them, to them, I should say, to them, right? Why does the jock always get the girl? Well, it's because there's an embodiment component to him. He has awareness of the body. He's a little bit aloof because he's playing his sports, doesn't really care that much about girls. That turns them on even more. But the way his body moves is what's ultimately attracting her, because it's connected, it's talking, it feels solid, it feels trustworthy. It feels like, okay, this is safe to me. But when it's disconnected, when it's shaky, when it's all over the place and freaking out, well, it doesn't feel safe. It feels like I'm going to have to spend some time to trust this. I'm going to go slower versus faster. And all the guys that are naturals when it comes to dating, same way. They're embodied, they're charismatic because they're embodied. They have the ability to banter, to kind of say and hold a conversation any way they want, because they're so aware that it just makes it easy and they don't have to do much when it comes to dating. It's again like that, the gravitas of that boulder just walking into a venue and everybody's like, whoa, what is that? I'm curious. I want to go get involved with that. So if you guys are looking
Yes,
for something like that, workshop's the place to be.
it's like the same for for business, for day-to-day stuff as well, right? Like how many guys here, like show of hands, like second guess things constantly. Maybe it's like what you're about to say, what you're about to do, and you're just like constantly, okay, I have this decision to make, and I'm going to spend the next half an hour trying to work out whether it's the right one or not. Or show of hands, yeah, yeah, cool, right? Um, like there's an old analogy my old karate sensei gave me. This was like probably nearly 30 years ago now, really dating myself here. But he always talked about how, if you're driving your car and you have the gas pushed right down to the floor, if you're on the motorway and in like top gear, you won't feel very much. You'll just be outputting all that energy and you'll be moving quickly. But if you're like in first gear, revving that engine, you got a handbrake on, like the brakes on, it will
Riding the
feel like
clutch.
that car, yeah, that car will feel like it's doing so much more work. Right? It'll be shaking, it'll be making noise, it'll be spluttering, and it's going to feel like you're doing so much more work. Right? Because all of that work it's working against itself constantly. And this is not just a physical thing, right? It's all that mental energy of like, oh, I got to make the right decision versus I'm going to make a decision. Hopefully, it's going to be the right one. And then something that Dave, you mentioned earlier, right? That trust in yourself, right? If you don't have that trust, that support in your legs and your back, right? You living without trust in yourself is horrible because like now you have to second guess everything. Because if you get it wrong, like the assumption in your body is if I get it wrong, I'm screwed, right? There's no coming back for this. Versus if you do trust yourself, getting it wrong is just it's part of the learning process. It's so much easier to play a video game where you can just like screw up and like die over and over and over again. Right? No one cares. There are no consequences. Right? You trust that you're just going to hit restart and play again. Right? So have a little think to yourself, do you trust yourself to come back if you screwed things up? right? Or if you screw things up, is that it, right? Is there any coming back from that? Like that's so big for a lot of people. It's where a lot of overthinking comes from, and that fear of making a mistake in the first place. And then when you fuck it up, it's never as bad as you think it's going to be. But all of that energy's gone in there anyway, right? And it's just debilitating for a lot of people.
I saw some comments about which workshop we're talking about. We're talking about a masculine energetic embodiment workshop that Dom and I have been teaching. The next one is in Bucharest, and the one after that is in Los Angeles. I got the link. I just put it in the chat for you guys to check out the landing page. If you guys got any questions, reach out to Dom and I. We'll be able to answer those for you. This is a very physical workshop. You're going to be moving a lot. It's not like you're going to be sitting around. It's kind of like the approaching workshops. A lot of, you're very physical in the approaching workshops. You're walking a lot, standing around a lot. But this workshop is lots of movement, lots of feeling work, confrontation work. You guys are just going to be exhausted at the end of the day with these workshops because they're fun, they're intense, you're moving, you're doing stuff, you're using the body the way it should be used. And yeah, you can click that link and check it out. Andreas asked an interesting question about playing with gratitude and what the difference is between feeling grateful in the head versus the whole body. Well, the head is a logical confirmation that you're going to practice gratitude. You can look around your apartment, you can look around at your life and your experiences where you're saying to yourself logically, oh, I did this. That was good. That was a good experience. Oh, I see the visual beauty in the apartment that I live in or the city that I live in. When you're feeling it, you're feeling the emotional components of everything has an emotional component to it, right? This truck that I'm sitting in right now has an emotional component to it. So when you feel it in your body, so Andres, when he's sitting in his apartment, there might be something in his apartment that makes him feel good. It makes him might smile or something that he really appreciates. And that feeling is going to hit his body somewhere. It's going to hit him in his heart, in his throat, in his gut, in his pelvis, in his legs. It's going to affect him somewhere. And does he have gratitude for that experience of that emotion? Does it feel good to him? And if the answer is yes, well, that's a great way to show gratitude through the body. Maybe he's sitting on the hillside and watching the sunset over the village that he lives in, right? And it's just a beautiful golden orange hue across the city with like a terracotta rooftop. And, people are just slowly milling through like the setting sun. And that feels warm in his heart. And he feels grateful to be able to visually experience this. And he feels like love toward nature and toward, Mother Nature, and that he has the opportunity to live in this beautiful village. And he's feeling joy and love in his heart, right? It may hit him right here. So that's the difference between logically saying, oh, wow, look at the beautiful sunset. That's very nice. I really appreciate that. Versus, wow, like you have to stop and you take it in, you feel it. And you're like, wow, like I don't know that I could get this feeling anywhere else. This is so beautiful. That is where you're experiencing it in the body versus the head.
Got a couple of experiences of that. Like one of them I know I've talked with you about, Dave. I don't know if I've talked about it online before. And the other one I definitely haven't talked about. So once about 20 years ago, I was really locked down. This was not long after coming out of university and, spending a lot of time with my head in books and on a computer. And I was at a gig and listening to one of my favorite bands play. And as it started, I was so in my head. I just remember feeling absolutely nothing and going like, I'm supposed to be feeling something here. And I started analyzing and figuring out, okay, what do I like about this music? What is it like? Like, I know I love this music. What is it that I like? What is it like? Okay, I'm going to listen to this. I'm going to taking the sound and taking the lyrics, and I could not feel anything in my body, no joy, no like satisfaction. If I could, it would probably have been like massive amounts of frustration. And then, this was 20 odd years ago, so probably a little bit of alcohol helped take the edge off then. And so like a few songs in, I was like, oh, okay, now I feel it. Like, the music's in my body, the vibrations from the speaker, the people around me, and it's just like, okay, I just feel this. I'm having an amazing time. And it's a very different experience, right? And you can't make yourself feel that. You just feel it or you don't. The second experience I had was at a meditation retreat about like 15, 20 years ago. And again, this is where like I had the embodiment, but I was also like disassociating a lot. I'd had a lot of different teachers, a lot of different training, and a lot of it just made things worse, right? So day one of the retreat, I remember staring out at this beautiful sunset, like green hills everywhere, cows mooing in the horizon, and I'm just explaining to myself why it's so beautiful. Like the sky is pretty colors, the sun is setting, it's making everything look good. Like the air is fresh and clean, and I can see cows, and I felt nothing. Again, probably that same sense of frustration underneath it, everything up here. And then, a week into that retreat, I'm on the same spot, looking at the same scene, and I'm not thinking about like why it's so beautiful. I'm not thinking about, oh, yes, I'm grateful for this, or this is I'm not thinking it's a beautiful thing. I'm just feeling a sense of wonder and, connection and like this surge of like energy through my body. And that's it. And it doesn't sound like much in words. It's just an entirely different experience. Exactly. It's being in your head versus being in your body. And everyone knows what we're talking about. It's just, yeah, so many guys teaching embodiment these days have that. They talk about embodiment from the head, and then they teach it from the head, and you learn it from the head. And that's kind of what I ended up doing. I went to the same meditation school for the next few years and learned to think about being in my body in a very realistic way, except for it was just costing me more and more energy. Right? It shouldn't be more energy. It should be easier. Right? It's going to be harder at first if you're not used to it, but yeah, if you're having to think about doing it, and you've been doing it for an extended period of time, you're not doing it. You're thinking about doing it.
Yeah, there's a lot of thinking that guys do, unfortunately, instead of just experiencing. I like that you shared the stories, Dom, because I have a very similar one. When I was in Japan, I was snowboarding and I crashed and I stood up and I just got hit with this overwhelming joy, and like all the colors were vibrating at like the most highest frequency, and the light was gorgeous, and like I could feel every little, like I felt like cell in my body as I'm like getting back up. And I'm like, holy shit, what is going on? I felt like I was like on some acid trip or something. It was just the craziest thing. And I just felt a part of all of this stuff. And it was just pure bliss and joy. And I just started like crying because it was tears of joy. It wasn't tears of sadness or anything. But I would believe that there's probably a little bit of sadness in there because like, where has this been my whole life? Why can't I experience this 24 hours a day, right? That's because of our own stories and our own crazy ideas that we come up with and our own games that we play with ourselves. And so it's always that's a peak experience for me of feeling embodied and connected with everything around me. And so I always try to get back to that place of just pure bliss and joy. And I got to experience a little bit of that today, actually, earlier today. So I was like, wow, as I was driving and I just like kind of looked out on the horizon, and it was just beautiful colors and scenery, and everything was so picturesque. And I was like, started feeling like this expansion come through my body. I was like, damn, this is awesome. Just feeling all of it. It was really, really, really cool. So there was a couple questions here that I thought were interesting. Where was it? How much does your connection to your gut play into presence? I find it gives a sense of solidity as opposed to being connected to your heart. Yeah, I would say so. Gut's very, very important to uh, your presence. Again, like if you have any part of your body that's shut off, it's not going to feel good to others. It's going to feel like, oh, there's something missing there. So, making sure that that is part of the full experience is going to help you um, be more present, more embodied overall. How to practice if you feel numbness in the lower parts of your body. Feels like a split disassociated in the second and third chakra. Yeah, this is very common in guys, Christian. Very, very common. There's a ton of exercises that we can show you if you come to the workshop. I hit this stuff super hard. You're not walking out of there feeling anything but your second and your third. So yeah, there's plenty of exercises to do with this. If you've got problems with the second and third, most likely you've got first chakra problems going on as well, which is family based typically. Second is sexuality. Third is like your masculinity, your ability to go forward in the world to get things done. But yeah, a lot of different exercises for that to get it turned on. Do you spend amount of time practicing embodiment in different parts of your body each day? Yes. Every time I'm doing something, it doesn't matter. Like even if I go for a walk to go get the mail or take out the trash, like I'm feeling what's going on in my body. I'm feeling how it's moving. I'm feeling if there's any kinks in it. I'm feeling if there's any fears or worries or frustrations or joy or happiness or acceptance. I'm just constantly feeling this thing that I'm walking around in. Doesn't matter what's going on. Like, so embodiment, as far as I practice every day, yes, I'm always trying to feel something, what's going on. I'll feel like when I disassociate from my pelvis or my knees, or I feel like my ankles are locked up, or I feel like I'm too much forward in the front part of my body, too much in the feminine. I have to get my back engaged. So yeah, constantly. You can play with it all day long.
Reyes says a great one saying, maybe this is why the practices from The Secret don't work for most people.
Yeah,
And yeah, like The Secret, meditation, like Tai Chi, yoga, whatever, like, there are so many things, religion, most spiritual practices, breath work. Like, there's a lot of stuff out there that is potentially guiding people into feeling or talking about this feeling, this embodiment. But when it's taught from a very heady intellectual place, when people don't understand embodiment, it's nothing but like a fantasy. It's just the same thing. It's like it's reduced into a technique that works for some people, they're naturally embodied, or they just stumble across it by accident, or sometimes it'll work when they have a good enough feeling, and sometimes it won't. But the secret is such a powerful thing, right? For so many people, they're going to start going like, okay, I'm just going to think about this thing. I'm going to manifest a Ferrari or whatever it is. And we talk about energy and that non-verbal communication. It works on so many levels. If I'm projecting out to the world, like, and saying the only thing that could possibly get me a Ferrari is this magical secret that no one else knows, and it's going to be very special, and I'm going to get the Ferrari, the promotion, the girl, whatever it is, Like that's the thing. Like I need the secret to get me there. Like all you're doing is energetically saying, I can't get that thing myself. Right. And the harder you try, the more you prove it right. The more desperate you get to get that thing versus really diving in there and figuring out why you're not that guy with a Ferrari already, right? Why aren't you already attracting what you want? And usually it's because your energy is an absolute mess, right? There's so many reasons why, but that's a big one for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's a really important thing that you brought up, both Andres and you, Dom. If you're not in alignment, there's an energetic alignment with everything in life. And if you're not in alignment with it, you're never going to get it. I don't care what you do. So, the secret is like that kind of stuff is all very mystical. It's like, oh, give me something to distract myself from actually doing the work I have to do to achieve the thing that I want. If I want the Ferrari, well, I got to build a business or I got to win the lottery or I got to do something big enough to make enough money to drop $1 million on a car. Sitting and meditating for that shit all day long is not going to get you the car. I'm sorry. It's a mystical escapism that has been sold to a lot of people and they wonder why they never get anything in life. It's because they don't do the work. And by doing the work to get the things that you want, you actually become aligned with the thing. And then that's why it shows up. So don't be led astray by the mystical stuff. You got to do the work. You got to show up. You got to put the grind in. And through that process, you're going to become aligned with the things that you're trying to bring into your life. And then they'll start showing up. Like I would not be where I am if I didn't constantly change and work and put the hard work in on myself to build the business, to do what I do, to have the lifestyle that I have. I've put in a shitload of work, a shitload of introspection, a shitload of uh, psychological work, the embodiment stuff. That's all come pretty easy to me because of my athletics and just my ability to feel what's going on in my own body. So that kind of comes pretty natural to me. But as far as business and the lifestyle and the experiences that I've had, yes, I have to put the work in. I have to become a better version of myself to obtain the money to do the things that I want to do. I don't sit around and meditate and say, oh man, I wish I could have this experience. Let me sit here and meditate. Let me sit here and release for 1,000 hours. No, I'm going to work. I'm doing my thing and boom, it shows up. That's the way it really works, guys. And if somebody has led you to believe anything else, I'm sorry. So it's just
Like
you got to put the work in, guys, or it's just
I'm,
not going to show up.
yeah, there's a really interesting thing there where I kind of on some level believe that it is possible on an energetic level to meditate your way to whatever the hell you want. But in practical terms, you're going to do far more work doing that than actually, getting yourself energetically aligned and then going out and, doing the actual work. It's for most people, like it's a functional impossibility. It's like a fantasy to avoid doing work. To become that energetically clear, most people are better off like getting a job, right? It's a fantasy for most people. I love this from Nikolai. Will the work ever be easy?
Nope.
Yes and no. It's kind of like the it will get easier. Like in
Yeah.
some ways, the hardest thing you ever do will be that first moment where you open that can of worms and go, oh, this is what I've not been looking at for however long, 10, 20, 30, 40 years, and just you're faced with all the shit you thought you'd buried successfully. Newsflash, you did not. And you get better at it. And it doesn't necessarily get easier, right? You become better at it, your tolerance increases, your skill gets better, and it kind of does feel easier in a way. But the more energy you can handle, the more emotional like work you can handle, well, that's going to feel tough too, because now you're starting to take on bigger things, right? If you are energetically small and playing in a tiny sandbox, and the only thing you're worried about is, am I going to be able to make minimum wage to pay for my crappy job and whatever it is, and like, make rent and eat this month? Right? That's stressful. But when you're starting to think bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's like, okay, am I going to make enough money with my business to pay all of my employees and, pay for a bigger place and everything else? Like, your problems scale up, right? So you'd better be better at doing it, right? And it might not feel as hard as it did before, but these are problems that energetically would have crushed you, like in those earlier places, right, where you started. So does it get easier? Yes. But for the most part, you know, it gets easier and it gets harder, but you get better at dealing with it.
Absolutely, man. That's 100% true. Yeah, the work does get easier, but it does get deeper and it does get more complex as you ascend different levels. You have very complex, nuanced problems to solve as you rise through the ranks and become, more embodied, more aware. But life does get easier. It does get better. So, if you guys are looking for an experience that makes things feel easier, that makes you have to do, in a sense, less work. You still got to do work, but it seems like you're going to be doing less. It's from the embodiment place. So I know some of you guys here on this call have already signed up for the workshop in Bucharest. Looking forward to working with you guys. It's going to be awesome. And some of you guys that don't attend because of whatever reason, there's one in LA. There'll be more next year, but you'll see the guys that did come and attend this one and the one in LA. You'll see when you see them again, you'll see that something shifted in them, and it'll be a good experience. So
Andreas saying, I have a friend that is addicted to scrolling. How would embodiment help him? Should I invite him to the workshop? Well, firstly, you should invite him to the workshop, even if he's a complete stud, because everyone should be there. But yeah, as Ike says, right, what is doom scrolling is like you getting sucked more and more into your head, like being filled with dopamine hits from whatever's going on.
it's
It's an
a
addiction.
scrolling is an avoidant coping mechanism. That's all it is.
Yeah.
So your friend's avoiding. He's avoiding feeling. He's avoiding action. He's avoiding potentially feeling his body, which would lead him back to the emotional component. And that's why he does that. He's just avoiding. And he doesn't know that because it's a very subtle thing that happens. But that is a psychological problem, avoidance. And the scrolling is the coping mechanism to the avoidance. Well, cool, guys. Thanks for joining the webinar. We got another one coming up on the 11th, I think it is. I've got the link in the chat for you guys. I'll put it in there one more time. Take a look. Again, reach out to Damarai if you got any questions. We can answer those for you. But the next webinar is going to be on April 12th, 9 a.m. And we'll go deeper into embodiment. We might even get into some exercises, show you guys a couple things on the next call. So I wanted to just kind of get past what embodiment really is for men, how it affects you positively, how it affects you negatively if you do it wrong, and answer some of your guys' questions around embodiment on this call. And I hope we did that for you guys. And then on the next call, we'll go deeper into some of the components of embodiment. Like I was talking about the back, right? I was talking about the pelvis. and we're talking about grounding, about feeling different parts of ourselves. We can get into that a little bit more on the next call that we have. So, anything else, Dom?
No, I think that pretty much covers it.
Cool. All right, gents. Well, thanks for being here. Appreciate it.